Hi, I'm Andrew Scheps, and today we're at the 90-degree studio at Muso's Corner. I think it begins on both ends. So if you're mixing, then it's the speakers or the headphones you use. It's what you're listening to. And if you're recording, it's the people making the noises and the instruments, they make them on, but then it's the microphone. Absolutely. It's the ends of the chain are the most important, and then work your way in. There are a lot of mics that are good at lots of things. U87s are usually a decent choice on just about anything. SM7 is a good choice on just about anything. You can't go wrong with an SM58. So yeah, if you want just a utility mic, any of those. You can't go wrong with any of the mics I've just said. Any Neve style mic pre I like, because if you want to get a little bit of distortion, you just bring it up a little bit, start to overload it. You can get a lot of color. I love 1176 style compressors. They're super versatile. You can do pretty much anything with them. So for recording, I think those are my things. For mixing, I'm going to plug my own plugin. The Waves Omni channel, it's a channel strip plugin that I helped develop, but it's really flexible and it has a lot of color to it, but a lot of different kinds of colors. So that gives you compression and saturation and expansion and de-essing and EQ all in one plugin, and you can reorder things, and it's really, really versatile. They're based off lots of different things and some stuff that we just made up. So it started as being like a conglomeration of, for EQ, there were some mid-range things I wanted that were Neve-like, some that were API-like, some that are Helios-ish. And then from there, it was kind of making this toolbox of lots of different stuff. So instead of it sounding like a thing, it's somewhere in between, but really versatile and really different. In a couple of cases, we started from models and then changed things because I didn't want it to be super specific. And in other things, we just built from scratch. It was like with the de-essers, I wanted a de-esser that was actually full frequency, because sometimes I want a deboomer or a declicker or something like that for an acoustic guitar, let's say. And so a de-esser that works down at 80 hertz is really useful sometimes. So that was just a completely from scratch out of my head, and it actually worked. We didn't know it would. And when I asked them to build it, they said okay, so I got lucky. I don't know. I think I don't ever really think about what I'm going to do. I just react to what I'm hearing. So sometimes you've got to build things, and sometimes stuff is getting in the way. So it's just completely down to what I hear when I hit play. I think that like where a lot of really cool stuff happens is in guitar pedals and modular synth stuff. And I think one of the reasons is because in both of those cases, you can design gear without power supplies. So you get a lot of people who've got crazy ideas for circuits, but they don't want to go through all the testing you have to do if you're going to plug it into the mains. So you get people who would shy away from designing standalone gear, but when you can shove it in a rack, just crazy stuff. Some of these companies have gotten big, like Make Noise in the modular scene. Now they're huge, but they started off as sort of a niche thing. So there's a lot of really cool stuff going on with that. I've been mixing on them for, it's got to be 7 or 8 years, but not full time. And now I mix on them quite a bit because I'm traveling, just logistics or whatever. But they're also headphones I've been listening to for 20 years. They're just the headphones I know. Same with speakers. You know, I think people tend to think like, well, speakers, I'll spend some money, get some really good speakers, that'll work. Not taking into account that maybe you don't hear the way those speakers play back, and they're going to be in a room, so the acoustics really matter. If they're passive, what amplifier are you putting on them? Whereas headphones, you plug them in and you go. And obviously you can mess around with different headphone amps and things, but there's not as much variance really, and you don't have to worry about acoustics. So in some ways, I think it's easier to acclimate to headphones. But yeah, you've got to find headphones that make sense. Because it doesn't matter if you can do a mix that sounds good on your headphones, it sounds bad everywhere else. Yeah, I mean, there's tons of stuff that's super cheap that's really cool, and then also like the stock plugins that come with Pro Tools. I still use Deverb. I used to use Lo-Fi a ton, but I kind of made the version of that I really wanted in the Channel Strip plugin. But Lo-Fi is awesome. The SansAmp plugin that comes with Pro Tools is great. Their Dynamics plugins are great. The EQ3, like all of those stock plugins, and I think it's the same in every DAW. Their stock plugins are really, really useful. And people overlook them because you assign the value that's like the price tag as how good they are. Like, well, if it were any good, they wouldn't give it away for free, but that's not the case a lot of times. Every project's different.
Yeah.
If it works, whether it sounds real or not, it doesn't matter. If it works in the track, sometimes really crazy mid-rangey machine strings, like mellotrons, for instance, are the best thing for a track. So I'm never worried about whether an element sounds a particular way or not. It's just if it works with the song.